Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so welcome live audience. Welcome to the online audience. Thank you for joining us at the mid-month Chai and Y. Chai and Y happens on the first Sunday at Prithvi Theatre and the third Sunday at Ruparel College over here. So that's where we are today. Come on in. And before we start today's session, I just want to say that next Sunday, 26th February, is when TIFR will celebrate National Science Day. National Science Day is on 28th of September. Why am I saying September all the time? On 28th of February. But we will be celebrating it on 26th of February next Sunday. The TIFR campus is open. If you want to register for lab visits, we'll put up the link, right, the link over there. You can sign up there, or you can just walk in as well. But we prefer if you let us know when you're coming, helps us manage the crowd a bit better. If you don't want to visit labs, it's okay. You can walk in. There are lots of things happening in the outdoors. And in parallel, there are lots of lectures in the auditorium. So there are lectures going on all day. There are experiments happening in the garden, and there are lab visits possible. So lots of things happening next Sunday at TIFR. If you're free on a weekday, then on the 28th, National Science Day, you can come to HBCSE in Deonar. We have our Science Day activities on Science Day over there. So you can come to both of them as well. I'll announce this once again at the end. Today, it's a pleasure to introduce the astronomy team from HBCSE. We have Sai here, Pritesh, Aniket, and the three of them are going to tell you something about Ye Tara, Wo Tara, Har Tara. I guess something about stars, constellations. I don't know what. I see some constellations over here. So over to you, folks. You can do this in English, in whatever, chalta hai, and we'll take it up from there. So yeah, I'm going to sort of sit down here and see that things are.
So I think Pritesh will start, but just before he starts, a clarification on the many people asked us, is this a dance program? It is not dance program.
Dance program. No, this is not a dance program.
Okay, Pritesh.
Okay, hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to you all about something that we all see, we all like, and this.
Minimize them. And you can go to that sharing and hide that. Go to that thing. Go to the three dots. More. Yeah, three dots. Hide floating controls. Hide blue panel. Okay, done.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity for us to talk about something that we all see, we all like, we all love. And it's like it has been said, it is not a dance show, it is not a drama show. This is a lecture, and it will be a fun lecture. So we all have heard this song, right? Ye Tara, Wo Tara, Har Tara. It's a beautiful song. Everybody has heard. And as the song correctly progresses, it is every Tara is pyara, it looks pyara. Right? And when we look at these beautiful stars, some questions often come to our mind. Questions like, what are these stars? Where are they? How far are they? Etc. Right? But the question that intrigues us more, thanks again to some films that we have seen in our childhood or some films, that how do we remember them? What is the use of them? Right? Why do we want to look at these stars? Why do we want to look at these constellations? What is the easiest way to remember these, etc. So in the next few minutes, we will do a small activity about what these constellations are. Why do we see them the way we see them? What are they used for? And you will find a beautiful link that connects the entire humanity, okay, which is already connected by the sky, by the stars, with these constellations. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead. So what are constellations? The first question. Constellations, as you must have read not the the image of a dance show or a play, that constellations is basically a group of stars. How are these group formed? It can be random. Just a group of stars is a constellation. Many people over many generations and many places all around the world, they have made various groups of stars. They have made various shapes. You must have seen in the song Ye Tara Wo Tara that Shah Rukh shows a particular constellation in the sky with not very accurate, but with a small telescope, he shows the entire constellation. We'll see about it. So constellations are basically groups of stars. Now we have standardized these groups. We have drawn these patterns, which are standardized all through the world by something called as the International Astronomical Union. The sky that we see, this 360-degree sphere around the Earth, is divided into 88 parts. Each part has few tens to hundreds of stars, which form the constellations. Some stars are seen to the naked eye. Some stars from the constellation are not seen to the naked eye. So let's go ahead and you will see this particular constellation, the constellation of Orion or the Hunter. This is the constellation which Shah Rukh shows through the telescope. You can't see it visible. Huge. It's a huge part of it. Now, we all know that whenever we see stars, बहुत सारे stars दिखते हैं, we can't identify a particular shape, and we often say, "अरे यार ये तो randomly." But then why I am showing you this particular region of the sky? Because there are these three stars, which if you go in the evening and look towards east, you will start seeing these three stars, a very peculiar pattern. 3 stars, एक line में, 3 stars in just one line. Very beautiful pattern, easy to identify. And you will see this particular constellation, or the constellation of Orion, where there is the head of Orion, the shoulders of Orion, right? You all have seen this. The other constellation is the famous geography textbook constellation. सबने देखा होता है geography textbook, not in this. Right? This constellation is called as the Ursa Major or the Great Bear. It's a huge bear in the sky. Typically also called as Saptarshi, but it is a small region of that constellation, and so we will talk more about this. So this Great Bear helps us to find the north direction. First thing is first use of constellations that we just done to find direction. Right? I won't get into that. I will just talk about constellations, and so you will tell more about this, and then we will have some questions, and then we'll see what other things these constellations are used for. So whenever we see these constellations in the sky, we see these stars, we make patterns out of them. Right? Are they like why do we see them the way we see them? Is it like they're there and I mean what exactly is happening? So it is just a chance alignment that has happened, and we see a particular shape. So let's do a small activity. We all have done this. If I hold my finger like this and look through the right eye, left eye closed, right eye se dekha.
Hold your finger, one finger like this. एक आंख बंद करो.
Right?
Now align your finger
to some pattern.
To me. Okay. सबने कर दिया. The finger and me should be we both in one side. एक आंख बंद रखना है. Okay. Now don't move your finger. I am also going to change position. All you do is open your closed eye and पहले जो आंख करो बंद करो. Finger move नहीं करना है.
So what do we see? Shift to
Finger से आपने move नहीं किया ना. मैंने भी जगह पे नहीं किया. So I'm seeing from one eye. Seeing from both eyes, then I'm seeing. Okay. Since I'm seeing from only one eye, I'm sending it to this place, but my these are sending. So, students who are around, did you follow what you are saying? See, in school maths, we say that we need 2 points, then we draw a line here. So, position of my eye first point, finger is second point. Through this, I drew a line which was going towards my background. Now, what I did, this point was the same. But I changed the other point. Instead of this point, I use this point. So the line drawn, we won't direction. So why are you talking about this? The pattern which we see in the sky is what we see from Earth or from the solar system. If you go to some other part of the galaxy, you're going to get very different patterns. It will change or not. Stars so far that it will not be different if you go to different locations on Earth or as Earth goes around the sun. January and July, Earth goes up sides of sun. Even that is not going to make much difference. Okay. So, but if the solar system is located in another part of the galaxy, it will be different. Okay, the constellation things may change. Or the stars, even individual stars are very far. So there is no, it will not be even 1 arc second. It will not be 1 arc second. Okay. So for students, 1 arc second is 1 by 37 degree. So 60 arc seconds is 1 arc minute, and 60 arc minutes makes 1 degree. So the change is just less than an arc second. If the change was about half degree or more, the scene notice it. That is much smaller than that. That is why it shows here. If the distance, these are not of the same distance. Actually, giving us the impression that they are the picture.
Correct. So what happens is,
Just repeat the question because otherwise only this point is coming up.
right. So the question is, this is just because of the distance, right? There is one more factor, the sizes of stars. As compared to their distances, the sizes of stars are so small that everything appears as a point source. Everything appears as a point. And hence we cannot perceive how far away they are from us. So what we see is their projection like they are embedded on some sphere. And we see a particular pattern. But this is just chance alignment. This is just because they are in one line of sight. If I go to some other star, like Sir was saying, I will see a different picture. I will see a different shape. Right? So how far are these actually? So here you can see a small inset of the constellation of Orion with some stars named here, right? So these are the 2 stars from the shoulder, these are the 3 stars from the bed, and these are the 2 stars from the knee. And they are at various distances. For instance, Al-Nilam, which is a star here in the bed, is around 1300 light years away. Light takes around 1300 years. On the other hand, Betelgeuse is just 600 light years away. And Betelgeuse. So they are at various distances from us.
Are these a star only or they might be a galaxy which we are seeing as a star?
These are just stars. All the constellations that we see are made out of stars which are from our galaxy. Which are from our galaxy, the Milky Way. That too, a very small part of our galaxy.
So it's not even beyond the galaxy. I don't see that.
We cannot see that. The nearest galaxy that you can see is like the LMC, SMC, large and small Magellanic clouds. They appear as patches in the sky. You can't individually resolve the stars, right? So everything that you see in the sky with your naked eyes is basically from our galaxy. All the stars are from our galaxy.
So in Orion, there is one object now which is not a star. The last one is come here. Yeah. So you can.
So in Orion, just below the belt, there is a small region where you will find something called as the Great Orion Nebula, a nebula where stars are being formed. This is not a star, but a gas cloud, a huge gas cloud where stars are formed. it is around again 1600 light years away from us. Right? So stars are at various distances, but they more or less appear of similar brightness. You already saw, but they are of various sizes. For instance, Sol means sun here is just 1 pixel here, like as small as my pointer's width. If you see Betelgeuse, it is huge as compared to sun. But when you see Betelgeuse in the night sky, you see a small star. Stars are huge. They can be of different sizes. Just because of their distances, we see them very small. So let's see what happens when I bring all these stars at a particular distance. So this is the constellation of Canis Major, the big dog. If you extend, I will show you what happens, how to find this constellation. So here is the brightest star in the night sky, which belongs to this constellation, Sirius. Okay, just no, this is not Dhruv Tara. That can be found using Earth. So this is Sirius, okay, or Vyahad Tara, right? And this is the constellation of Canis Major as we see it. But what if I place all the stars at a particular distance, say 10 light years away or 30 light years away from me? What will I see? Because stars have different sizes, so they will appear of different brightnesses, right? If I bring Betelgeuse very close to me, from 600 light years to 10 light years or 30 light years, it will appear big. You saw Betelgeuse, how big it is. So here, this is how it will look, where the sizes of these circles are the brightnesses. So as the brightness increases, how do you depict the brightness in the picture? So that is depicted by the size of the circle. The bigger the circle, the brighter the star. That is not going to happen in the sky, by the way. Sky में आप जब देखोगे आपको bright दिखेगा, उसका size नहीं बड़ा होगा, वो bright दिखेगा, right? Now, ठीक है, ये सब सुन लिया, okay. Now let's go to again back to the sky, and this is our beautiful Orion constellation. Here was the Orion Nebula that I saw. This is the head, these are the shoulders, this is the belt, this is the Orion Nebula, these are the knees, and I saw this beautiful constellation. If I extend these 3 stars, I come to this pair, okay, and I see the constellation of Canis Major, which we just saw. On the other side, if I extend it, so this is towards south, this is towards north, more or less. I saw the constellation of Taurus. Why do I do this? Why do I want to do this? Because remember, when we started with the fact that, okay, there are constellations, and I want to remember them because I want to use them. The sky was the only tool available to human beings, one of the only two, for keeping time, for finding directions. But how do I remember these things? By having stories woven around them. For instance, there was a hunter, and hunter was hunting in the jungle. He was attacked by a bull, and typically hunters have a hunting dog with them to find their prey or to run behind the prey. So this is the hunter, this is his dog, and this is the bull that is attacking him. This is a beautiful story around this, and you remember the entire region of the sky. On the other hand, this hunter was killed by a scorpion, and hence they are enemies, right? When somebody kills you, he becomes your enemy. So they are not in the same place in the sky. When the hunter rises, they won't see each other. The hunter rises, the scorpion sets. When the scorpion rises, the hunter sets. So you immediately know which part of the sky you are seeing. You're going to see if I see the hunter in the sky.
Whether these stories also changes from civilization to civilization, like Western has a different story, Indian has a different story, something like that.
Absolutely right. So this is what we are going to do now, and Sai will tell you all these stories, how these are used. But before that, we have a small activity for you. Okay, we want you to design your own constellations and have your stories. And remember, the map that we are going to give you has stars in it. These are not the same maps that you saw, or even the background that you are seeing right now. This is some different region of sky. You are free to choose whichever stars you want, make whatever stories you want. You have some time, maybe 5-7 minutes. 5 minutes. For the folks on the
We can just show them this.
yeah,
Just stop share. Otherwise, you won't see it.
okay, stop sharing. Okay, so for the folks who are with us on YouTube or Zoom, here is the sky map. You see a lot of stars here, right? And that is what the people who are present here will be making stories and patterns out of this map. Okay. So we will come back to this map later in the talk as soon as Sai finishes her part. So in the next 5 minutes, people are supposed to make patterns. You can also, I mean, I will hold this.
Yeah, if you need a pencil, please take one. Please feel free to make whatever stories and patterns you want. So the online audience, you'll have to wait for a bit. We are doing an activity over here. But if you want, you can just, can they download such pictures from somewhere? Maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I can keep it on the-
Oh, you can put it, just share the screen. No? You have this thing, you have this picture. Maybe we will just share this picture on the screen so that if you want, you can look at your screen and try and imagine what patterns you can make or something like that.
It's there and it's okay. Sorry, sorry. I will show them. Let me get the picture.
Okay, online audience, if you want, you can take a look at the shared screen and imagine any pattern you'd like.
To again reiterate, we don't want you to identify the constellations as typically are known. This is just your own imagination. You decide what patterns you see in this group of stars. We have particularly given you a region where there are few bright stars, few faint stars, and does not include the typical two constellations which are there in all books like Orion and Big Dipper. They are not included in this part.
So for the people online, we will be showing the exact region of the sky. I mean, the actual constellations that are decided by the International Astronomical Union in this region of the sky. Just to tell you, this is the region of the sky which.
Let them. Right now, we don't want to. See, जो अपने पूर्वज थे, all cultures, not just India, China, America, Australia, and to remember the sky, they said, okay, to remember this region of sky, I'm going to imagine this pattern. To remember this region of sky, I'm going to remember this pattern. So we want just to think like that. Suppose if this pattern, this region of sky appears in the sky, and you want to remember, okay, this part I want to remember, what kind of shapes you would imagine there? Seasonally different part of sky will appear at different times. So what we will do, you can take more time to continue. We are going to ask you towards the end what constellations you have drawn. We'll give you some more time to, if you have some more ideas forming in your mind, we'll continue with our presentation, and then at the end we're going to ask you. Okay? So maybe Sahi will,
but then don't tell them which part of the sky. No.
Yeah.
Okay, hello. So you can continue drawing your. So let's start with indigenous culture. So this word indigenous, it means something that is originated from a particular place. Now, indigenous culture will mean yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So indigenous cultures will mean that these cultures which have naturally originated from that place and which are being followed by the people who live there. So by now we saw some constellation and that story, that beautiful story of Orion, Hunter, the Taurus, the bull, and there was a dog, Sirius, Canis Major. So we saw one particular story in the previous slide, but in other cultures, like people who live in remote areas, who are not very well acquainted with the mainstream culture, they do not know about this culture. They have their own stories, they have their own perspective to look at the sky. And these stories and these patterns that they see in the sky, they are naturally influenced by things that are there in their surroundings. Right? So let's see what these things are.
Okay. Can you go back and tell them some story, because this is about Western story.
Okay. Okay. So the story which we saw earlier was the Western narrative. Now let's see what our traditional Vedic narrative is. So Orion is actually imagined as a deer according to the Vedic tradition. So how are you going to imagine a deer here? Is that you have to imagine you are sitting in a forest and you are looking up and there is a glass box above you and there is a deer standing in it. Okay. So you are looking at the deer standing from below. Okay. Then what do you see? You will see there are legs of the deer, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? You will see the head of the deer. You will see a tail, okay? Now these 3 stars are actually an arrow which is shot by a hunter named Vyad, okay? So I'll just repeat. You are sitting in a forest, you are looking up, there is a deer standing. So you will see the four legs of the deer. About these two very famous narratives, the Vedic, traditional Vedic narrative and stories. So now,
Yes, let's go back.
Yes.
In the Indian narrative, what happens on the other side? There is Kritika and all that. No, I mean, is it also connected to the story or is it a different story?
Yeah.
So in the Western narrative, lion is a hunter. That hunter is fighting the bull, and this dog belongs to the hunter. In Indian thing, deer and Vyar, singers are not the whole person. The singers are Vyar. They are part of one story. This part is called Rishabha. That is same as bull from Western thing. And seven sisters, Kritika, which in Western narrative is just hump of the bull, is a different thing altogether. So they are not connected in Indian thing. Story. Seven sages is Saptarshi, seven sisters.
okay, so now we have a part of the sky here. Can someone tell me what do they find anything familiar here? Saptarshi. Yes. Right, correct. Yes, great. Okay, great. So, right. So this is the part of a constellation called constellation. The name is and there are 7 stars in this pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So these 7 stars they form a pattern which we call Saptarshi according to the Vedic tradition. And this pattern is very prominently seen, and also it is very famous because firstly the stars are bright, you can see them easily, and secondly the most important thing is that with the help of this pattern, you can actually locate our whole star or the North Star. Now, why do we need to locate the North Star? Right, the directions. So once you find the pole star, you know where the north is, and then you know all the other directions.
Can you check if it is? So we'll just check if all the audience can see us again.
I can see it with this video.
Okay.
And you know what? I think let's just turn the video off. Save bandwidth. Turn this video off. Let's keep the full screen on. Just turn your video off.
Okay. वीडियो ऑफ किया है यहाँ पे उसका वीडियो ऑन है
No, that's fine. As long as you turn the video off, that's okay.
ओके सही back.
Okay. So we just continue. Yeah. So the reason why this pattern is important is firstly because the stars are very bright, and secondly we can find our whole star. So according to the Bill community, now we'll see how they visualize this particular constellation. So according to the Bill community, the first 4 stars, 1, 2, 3, and 4, they see it as a cot. We all know what a cot is, right? To sleep, yeah. So these 4 stars are a cot, and the 3 stars beneath are actually thieves who have stolen this cot. Okay, so these 4 stars are the cot, and the 3 stars here, they are the thieves who have stolen this cot. Now they also have a very beautiful story around it, okay, which goes like there was a family of 2 brothers and a sister who is pregnant. Okay, now this sister here, she needed a cot for her delivery. Okay, so now they were very poor, they did not have a cot. So she told her 2 brothers that okay, fine, go bring some cot for me. Okay, now these 2 brothers, they left in the search of a cot, and for many days they were not able to find any cot. Okay. Now one day they were successful in finding a cot. They got very happy. They took the cot, they stole it, and they came back. But by that time it was too late. The delivery was already done, and hence, as soon as the sister saw these brothers with the cot, instead of getting happy, she got really furious that you're so late that I had to, go through so much pain. And so she got hold of one of the legs of this cot and pushed it. Okay. Now, what will happen if you push one of the legs of the cot? The shape will get distorted, right? Now, this distorted shape is exactly what is seen here. This is not a perfect square, or it is not a perfect rectangle. It is kind of distorted. Okay. Now, another thing here is these 3 characters, 2 brothers and a sister. It is like the 5th star is brother, the 6th is sister, and the 7th is brother again. It is not like there are 2 brothers and 1 sister here, or sister here and then there are 2 brothers. This also has a significance. This is because the 6th star here is actually a double star. So if you look through a telescope, you will see 2 stars in the place of the star, and hence it actually indicates. Yeah. And if you in very clear sky conditions, you can also see with your naked eye. Okay? So this binary star, this 2-star system actually indicates a pregnant lady. Okay. So this is one of the story. Yes. So another story was told to us by Kokna community. Now this community has.
Just move it down.
Now Ursa Major is seen by the Kokna community. Now again, these 4 stars are a cot. So this cot picturization is very common. Most of the communities, they picture it as a cot. And the 3 stars here are again thieves, but the characters are different. So the 2 stars, the 5th and the 6th star are 2 sons, and the 7th star is their mother. Okay. Now these are again thieves. They used to go and steal things. But one day, this mother, she got a chance to go and steal some of the things alone by herself when her 2 sons were busy. Okay. So she came back with all the stolen goods, and an idea crossed her mind. What if I don't share these things with my sons? Okay, I'll have all of this for me. So she went and she hid all these stolen things under this cot. Okay? Now few days passed and chori to chup nahi sakti. So the sons, they found out what their mother had done. Now they got really angry because they expected that their mother should share with them the loot, right? So they were a team. But apparently their mother had not done so. So they got really angry and they went to their mother and pushed her down the cliff. Now this scene of pushing down the cliff, yes, you have any question? So this Kokana community, they stayed in a hilly region, okay? So there were hills, mountains along the horizon, and Ursa Major is just rising. So you imagine that instead of house, there are mountains here, and Ursa Major, the Saptarshi has just risen, okay? So what do you see? This star here is actually almost touching the edge of the mountain, right? You will see like that. So that actually depicts that these two stars are pushing the mother down the cliff. Okay? Yeah. So there is one more community called the Nicobaris community. Yes.
Maybe you can tell people where in India are the wheels and the Kokana and the Nicobaris might be basically the name, but otherwise maybe people.
Yeah. So this community lives in the Nandurbar region, the hilly region of the what do we say? Satpura, yeah, the foothills of Satpura.
Wheels are spread in a very vast region. The ones we spoke with, they are also from Nandurbar region, Satpura region. And as I said, that across the Satpura, right from Nandurbar all the way up to Vidarbha, the story of this spot and three people seems to consist in all the indigenous communities. There are hills, different subtribes of hills in entire Satpura range. There are Kokanas, then in the Vidarbha side, there are Kokus and various other communities. All of them share this story in Satpura.
Yes. Okay. So now we have seen two different perspectives. Now let's see what Nicobaris community say. Okay. So again, you have the Saptarshi here. Now, these people, they imagine a coconut tree in place of these 4 stars. Okay. And the 3 stars here is a tool which is used to cut coconut from the tree. Okay. Now, if I give you this tool, say, and if I tell you to cut the coconut, how will you move this tool? Right, like this, right, in this fashion, in a curved manner, right? Now, that is what we are going to exactly see in a video which I'll show you. But before that, let me just give you an intro to that video. Now, let's say you go for a sky observation, okay? You're seeing this Saptarshi, and you take a long video of 7 to 8 hours of this Saptarshi rising and setting. So we all know that stars rise from the east and they set in the west, right? So entire constellation of Saptarshi will rise from the east and it will set in the west, okay? So you take this long 7 to 8 hours of video and now you want to watch it. Now obviously we don't have 7 hours here. So we just fast forward this video. So let's see how it will look like. So here is our Saptarshi, right? We'll see it again. It will rise from northeast. This is north. And it will set here. Now you have to see the motion of these 3 stars here, which was our tool. Okay, these 3 stars. Similar motion of cutting the coconut, right? So this is the explanation given to us, given to the people who went there. Okay. Now another perspective is by the Kolam community. It stays in the Nanded district, the Gondia district of Maharashtra. And they imagine, again, Saptarshi. They imagine Saptarshi to be a container of water. Okay. Now, this part, these 4 stars are the container, and these 3 stars are kind of a handle used to lift the container. Now, in the month of June, if you see when the sun just set, if you see in the sky, if you see in the northern region, this will be the orientation of Ursa Major. Like the container is being upside down. The face is facing down. Okay. Now, if this container has water and if I just pull it down, what will happen? The water inside it will fall down, right? So, yes. So that is what they say. So they say that the rain start after this particular constellation is seen at sunset in this particular way, upside down manner. Okay. So this is another way of like predicting season, right? So before we did not have any calendar, we did not know when a particular season will start. But based on our observations, we can find out which season is going to start, right? Okay. So there is another community, fisherman community. They have their own perspective again. So they imagine a boat and with a long keel, and with these three stars, they form the keel of the boat. Okay. Keel, sorry. And now this fisherman community, they do not give very much importance to the stories. They utilize these constellations. They want to use these constellations in their day-to-day life. And their day-to-day life is going out in the ocean and fishing, right? So out in the ocean, they need to find the direction. So which is why they make use of this particular constellation to find the direction. So when Ursa Major, the Saptarshi is right above in the sky, you can use it to find the direction. Obviously, you can find the pole star by joining these two lines and extending. But apart from that, if you join these two stars and you extend it further, you have the direction of west. Yeah, not always true, but when it is.
Stars are always like, since the 4 stars will rise first, they will always be towards west as compared to other 3 stars. Okay, so the story which they say is this is my ship, and if for the fishermen on the western coast of India, towards west means going out to sea, and keel side towards east means coming back to shore. So the keel of the ship is guiding the way home. That is the story.
Okay, so this constellation, Orion, yeah, right. So Orion or the Mruga, as we saw, is again a very famous constellation because it is very bright, and also you can see it throughout wherever you go on the earth. Okay, so as it was observed by many communities, there are many perspectives. So the first one is given by the Nicobaris community. They imagine these 3 stars, the belt stars of the hunter, as a stick. Okay. Another one is from Gold, Kolam and Hill. They have visualized a plow in the place of the belt star and the dagger star. And the Kokuna community, it actually visualizes these 3 stars as a deer which is being chased by hunters. Now let's just zoom out a bit to see where the hunters are. Okay, this is our Orion constellation. These 3 stars are the deer. These 4 stars are actually people who are trying to corner the deer. Okay, they want to hunt this deer. And 1, 2, and 3. These 3 stars are actually 3 hunters who are chasing the deer. Okay. Now this star particularly, being closer to the deer, he shoots an arrow, and the deer is killed. So yeah, this is the story. By the way, this star here is again Vyal, if you can recollect. So let's go on to Pleiades. Now Pleiades or Kritika, right here, is a cluster of stars. Okay, a cluster of stars. Okay. So there are many stars in a particular region of the sky. So if you see in the sky, there are many individual stars, right? But if you see here, you will see something different. There is a cluster of stars, and this particular cluster, it looks attractive in clear sky conditions, and hence there are many visualizations. So if you just zoom in a bit here, this is a picture that you will see. This is taken from the NASA website. So there are many visualizations for this Pleiades. First one is by birds. So it looks like there are many stones, several stones which are thrown at birds. Okay, so they wanted to kill the birds, and so these are actually the stones which are being thrown. oops, sorry. The column to birds, okay? Stones thrown at birds, groups of birds. They also say that these are eggs laid by birds, okay? Now the Banjaras, they visualize it as a piece of jewelry. So it almost looks like some diamonds, right? Then Korku thinks that it is a minced meat of cow, and the Kokra see it as a heap of hay. So now, yes. Sorry? Hump. Yes, that was the hump of the bull, right? So now, till now we saw many constellations, right? And most of these constellations were from the northern sky. Now there are many constellations in the southern sky as well, like the way you see here.
So
Now,
the key difference between the constellations which we see in northern sky and constellations which we see in southern sky, we were just discussing while we made the presentation, and then that time we were discussing what are the common patterns which you see, and then we realized in the northern sky, if you go by the Western stories, what was the constellation designed by the people who were living on land, and they talked about bull and lion and various animals, farming equipment, and those kind of things. And mostly people in Europe. So now those people did not really had seen southern constellation. Those constellations were designed in 16th, 17th century when people started traveling on ships to southern part because they were going to South America or they were finding a new route to India and so on. Heavily designed several constellations. So suddenly, if you see this constellation southern sky, many of them are parts of ship or some instruments which are used on the ship. So you will find like Vela, Carina, this is internally a ship. Then there is telescopium, horologium, there is octans, Musta, sextants. All these southern constellations, they are about navigation, especially using ship.
Water pump.
Yeah, also water pump.
But here I think Libra
Libra has it is still central part which was still visible from the northern side.
So maybe you should tell what constellations are visible from where.
Okay, so
If I am in Mumbai, what can I see? How far south can I see?
so like if you start counting from North Pole to South Pole, on Earth we do this something called akshansha latitudes. Latitudes on Earth we design. So we take North Pole as +90, equator as 0, South Pole as -90. Mumbai is at 90 degrees north. That is what typically we say. Similarly, we can also define something similar latitudes in the sky. So if I am at say Mumbai, 19 degrees north, I can see all the northern sky and most of the southern sky except the last 90 degrees. Okay, if I am at say 50 degrees north, which is like somewhere in Europe, I will take entire northern sky, I will see. In the southern sky, I will not see the last 50 degrees because I'm that much up north. If by that extending same thing, if I'm at equator, I will see everything. If I go further down south hemisphere, now I will see the entire southern sky, but I will start missing some of the northern sky. Okay, yeah. So now the question is there any pole star in the southern hemisphere? Because as you rightly guessed, right, when you say that some part of the northern sky is missed, first thing you will miss is pole star because that is right at the North Pole. Unfortunately, there is no bright star very close to the southern pole. So what people typically do is they have some constellations which are a bit far from pole, and then they say, okay, if you take one line from this constellation, one line from that constellation, and they intersect, that is roughly where the pole is. That is how they try to remember. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. So he mentioned the star closest to southern pole. Now the problem is, say, sky conditions. See, Polaris is not very bright, but still fairly bright. So even from Mumbai, I can barely see it. Difficult to see, but I can still see it. The stars close to southern pole are much fainter. So you need excellent sky conditions to actually see those stars. That is the problem. From city lights, you will not see them. So brightest, that is why the brightest star sight lines is what typically people do.
Also, there are some very nice bright constellations down south.
Crux of it.
Just thinking that since the pole star was viewed by the navigator in earlier age, when moving the sea, to see the but the north was in a all the direction. So if I am moving in the my simply with the southern hemisphere, how can I?
So the question is that for northern hemisphere navigation, pole star is very useful. And then how do you navigate when you go to southern hemisphere? So when the first time people went to southern hemisphere, obviously it would have been a bit confusing, but they also know the constellations around equator. By that time, they were very well familiar with those. So they could see the equator constellations still in the sky, and then from that they could determine this is east side, this is west side, and the familiar constellations are seen in some part of north. So roughly there is north side, and then this unfamiliar part they started designing new constellations.
But also, I think every southern culture has huge amounts of.
Yeah. So if you go and talk to people in Amazons, or if you go and talk to people in Kalahari Desert, or Aboriginal Australians, I will show a couple of slides about that. They have their own stories. Just that the Western people did not know about them. Now, actually, there is more work going on to document these stories. If somebody was, yeah.
They use crux.
Yes, even Nicobaris use crux as a navigation for navigation purpose. Crux is the Southern Cross. It's a cross of four bright star. Sorry. Yeah. So here it is seen much smaller because the sky region is quite huge. But 1, 2, 3, 4. In sky it is very clear. This is here appears very small. So crux is a navigational constellation for many of the southern cultures.
And it is such a famous constellation in the southern sky that it is on the flag.
I think on the flag of some countries. Which countries? They can any students tell me? Yeah. Australia
and flag and passport of big football. Brazil. Brazil flag has some 30 constellations on it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. The question is that what the directions which we see on magnetic compass and directions which you see by pole star, are they same or there is difference? So there is a slight difference. If you are close to equator, difference is smaller. If you go further from equator, the difference starts getting bigger. Okay. So, but for most of the primary navigation purpose, roughly you can say both are pointing towards north. Now, that reminds me of a very interesting thing. So we talked to the fishermen in Konkan, and we asked them, is there any star which doesn't move? It remains in the same place. So they thought and said, yes, there is one such star, but it is not in the north. It is slightly east of north. Because when they go out to sea, they see what they take north as what is shown in compass. And as compared to that, the pole star is 2.5 degrees off. to the east. So they kept saying, no, it is not north. It is slightly south, but there is a second star.
And they're talking about the North Pole.
Yeah, yeah. North. So they in their mind, north means what is shown by the compass, and Polaris is a different thing.
I read one article that the axis of Earth moved between 23.5 and 3 degrees for a long period of time. Very long period. In that case, the full stop was fixed.
So axis of question is, does axis of Earth will form different places, different things in different times? Yeah. So now axis of Earth has multiple motions. There is one motion, what we call as precession, where the axis completely rotates in a circle. That precessional circle happens over 25,800 years, meaning 26,000 years, or roughly by 1 degree every 70 years. In addition to that, there is slight change in the axial tilt. We say 23.5 degrees, but it is 23.5 plus or minus 2 degrees, kind of. So it can keep wobbling between those values. So that is slightly faster than this precessional value. But that since the change is small, we don't see that much in the position of. So we don't find, by naked eye, we don't perceive that change that easily. But the precessional change, where axis goes in complete circle, that change is clear, not in one lifetime. Today, we have a star which is very close to the celestial pole. We call it Polaris. But that star was not close to pole. If you go back 2,000 years or 3,000 years, there was an era between, say, 2000 BC to 800 AD, when there was no good star close to pole. Before 2000 BC, there was another star called Tuban, which is fairly close to pole. If you go 2000 years ahead, again there will not be any star close to pole, which is fairly bright. So, what we call as pole star is also a relative thing.
In that case, constellation will also position of the constellation.
So now the question is, will it change position of constellations? So no, position of constellations don't change. So for example, so it is just like the room around you is stable, but earlier I was rotating like this. So I thought that the entire room is spinning in this way. After say several thousand years, my axis is pointing this direction. It is spinning like this. So then I will feel the room is rotating this way. But the background of the room has not changed. So constellation shapes don't change. Okay. Because constellation shape is the background. And what we are seeing this change is just Earth's motion. Earth's motion cannot affect the constellation shape. Okay, let's go ahead. Just few more slides, then we will take more questions. There is also, I think Saeed, you can come back for this. Apart from individual stars, there is also a very big band of stars. Can students identify what is this? Milky Way. Yes. Saeed?
Yeah, right. So this is the Milky Way galaxy. So what is the galaxy? Sorry, I can't hear you. Right. So galaxy comprises of billions and billions of stars. And there are other things like star clusters, nebulae, etc. etc. So we live in such a galaxy. Uska naam hai Milky Way galaxy. Right? Now there are many other galaxies.
About 10 kilometers out in the street, good enough for you. But nowhere on land. Okay, you're back. Wait, you're back, but I'm not.
I didn't see whether I are sitting in conservation, but when he got back, if I'm living in school, I don't know how to do it outside. Because I am studying in Milky Way, I don't know how to do it outside. So how does the shape of the Milky Way is flat and what?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. In case you have not heard, his question is that if I'm sitting in the room, I cannot tell the exact shape of the room with how to look from outside. Okay, so how can we talk about the shape of Milky Way that is flat disk with some arms and if I'm inside the Milky Way? So it was really challenging question for astronomers as well. What people did in all directions from Sun, they started measuring the density of stars and their velocity. So, okay, if I go 20 light years in that direction, 40 light years in that direction, 60 light years in that direction, like keep doing it all the way, is the density of stars changing? Are they, which direction their velocities are? And like that, they kept mapping the entire Milky Way. Now, we don't see the entire Milky Way. We only see about half of it because rest part, there is too much dust to and it blocks light from the sun. So we got the idea about half the Milky Way. Now, last few years, with improvement of non-optical astronomy, we could get slightly more areas of Milky Way. But then what people did, that okay, we have got half the shape understood. Now let's look at the sky. There are millions of galaxies around. Now, can we fit whatever shape we know to some galaxy which we can see them? So then they understood, okay, the galaxies are mainly classified in these subgroups. There are some spiral galaxies, there are elliptic galaxies, there are very peculiar shaped irregular galaxies. Out of that, the spiral galaxy shape with a bar and bulge in the center is what will best describe what observations we have about Milky Way. So, Arnav, are you back?
Yeah, on his mobile, but this is going to be very risky. So I think what we should do is finish this and the rest of the thing. People who come in first should get more.
Okay, so quickly we should finish our review.
So this is how the Milky Way looks like in the sky, a band of stars, and it has a particular glow because of the stars there. And the dark regions are actually the gas and dust, which actually block the light. Okay, so this particular patch of the sky, it almost looks like a path in the sky. Okay, so most of the communities, they say that it is a path, but what kind of path is different for different communities? So the columns say that it is a path of animals, some say it is a path of dead, it is a path of gods, and you have the Nicobar tribe which says it is a stream of water. Okay. Now there is a very interesting story to explain the structure. So if you see, this is a picture taken from the stellarium. So this is how you will see Milky Way in the night sky. So you see that there is a path, and from here somewhere it gets divided into two parts, right? The glowy part, it gets divided into two parts here. So the Bhil community have an interesting story. They say that this is a path, and from one end, a newly married girl is walking. And she walks, and at some point, she encounters her elder brother-in-law walking in the opposite direction. So the newly married girl is walking in this direction. The elder brother-in-law is walking in this direction. So out of respect towards her elder brother-in-law, she changes her path and takes another path, which is this path. Okay. So till now we have seen constellations that are patterns which are formed using stars as a reference, right? Now there are certain communities who actually see the dark regions in the Milky Way, the dark patches, and they imagine some figures and some patterns in them. So one of the community is the Australian Aboriginal community, and they imagine the shape of a pattern of a bird called emu. Okay? So this is the bird, and if you see here the bulginess of the band is more, right? Here it is a narrower and here it is more bulgy.
But that seems to be the center part of the.
Yeah, yeah,
Let it go back.
right. Okay.
Okay.
So
So we have come to the end of presentation, and now it is time for your answers. Do any of the people want to share what stories you drew on your paper? The same thing. Students, come. Tell us what stories did you draw? आजा, कोई भी आजा. So stand close to this so that people can hear you. ये वाला जो है वो इससे लेजर भी दिखता. You can show it.
So I saw these here, and
Maybe this is not going to work for the online audience, so we might as well just say thank you.
Okay, so online audience, we will wind up at this stage. Is there any quick questions from online audience? We will take take those.
There was one question before the network died. Unfortunately, I lost it. It is, how do you identify these patterns when you go out at night?
So the question from online audience was that how do we identify this pattern? So the answer is by practice. It is the patterns are for convenience of remembering them. So if I don't put any patterns there, then remembering this part of that part becomes very much challenging. That is why we just if you just have to practice with this part looks like there is this nice 3 stars together. This is the belt of Orion. That is how we remember by practice. We will take questions from you a bit later. We'll take questions from online audience first if there are any. Otherwise, we'll stop the online broadcast and then we'll continue with. Okay. No other questions. We can stop the online.
Okay. Do you want to share the actual stellar constellation for this? This pattern. Something asking if this is a standard pattern, could you share the actual pattern?
We may, but we don't want to bias the audience who is sitting here. We want to hear their stories first.
Okay, maybe I'll leave the slide on the video on the slide.
Okay. So with that, we will now come back to what story you were saying. And since now we don't have to worry about the online audience, out of you closing that meeting, right?
No, nothing on YouTube. So let me just actually.
Okay, so just we will then Arnav close the online meeting and then we will continue with the.
Yeah. So online audience, thank you for joining us. Really sorry for all the bandwidth issues we had today. There is another some exam happening here, and there are jammers, and we're really facing a lot of trouble with bandwidth. Just a reminder that 26th February, Sunday, is the National Science Day program at TIFR, and 28th January at the Homi Bhabha Science Center. So do feel free to check our websites for information about those events as well. The next Chai will happen on Sunday, 5th of March. That is the Sunday nearest to Holi. And that's Chai will be on color. And this time we're looking at how colors in maps and how many colors you need to color maps is linked to keeping secrets. So that's a computer science Chai on color coming up at Prithvi Theatre the first Sunday of March. And keep following us on Facebook, Twitter, or send us an email, outreach, outreach @tifr.res.in. We can add you to our mailing list and hope to see you again, preferably in person, if not online. Thanks a lot. We're going to stop the live stream now. That was only for the online audience, not for you. You guys should continue.
Yeah, so now you can tell us.
okay, so what I saw was there we can see a sort of a snake type of thing, and what I saw was this: there is a snake, and there is its burrow, and like this part thing.